In this video, we're going to talk about one big mistake that only the top 1% of Halo Infinite players actually avoid, and if you don't, you're going to end up lost on the battlefield. You're going to keep getting rolled to the same opponents over and over again, and you're never going to climb. So we're going to break it all down, but the GameLeap website is the best place if you want to climb to be that top 1%. You got to go check out our in-depth advanced guides made by top 1% plus players that are going to teach you exactly how you can dominate every single game you're in. So do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below. Now, there's actually one true way in order to play better, consistently make better decisions, and improve at a much faster rate. And it has to do with putting yourself in the shoes of both allies and enemies. Now, when I say put yourself in the shoes, you're putting yourself in the mindset of the people on your team and the enemies that you're up against in every single game. What are your allies doing and what are your enemies doing, and how can you use that information to improve as a player and play better in that game, giving yourself a much higher chance of winning? Let me give you an example. When an ally spawns in, he's gonna play fundamentally different depending on what he values most in a game. Is he gonna rotate and try to contest the items? Is he gonna beeline straight down middle? Is he gonna go straight towards the objective or try to get into a firefight for open space? Every single ally is going to be different, and understanding what your teammates play like allows you to make a much better strategy that either plays along with what they're doing right or plays around what they're not doing right or something they're not doing. A great example of that would be, let's say no one on your team fights for open space, and every time you try to go to the high ground and spray, there are 3 enemies on the high ground. Now you could say, hey, feeder teammates, come help me fight for space. But if they're not going to help you, you either need to play way more passively or incorporate a completely different style. The next thing that you need to be thinking about when you're putting yourself in the shoes or the mindset of your allies is, where are they constantly? What are they doing? Watch how they move and where they move. How can you aid any engagements they're in, and what types of fights are they taking? Are they poking from really far away, or are they running in like a psychopath and feeding over and over again? Now, last up, and this one is the most important, what is the skill level of the allies on your team? Learning how skilled your teammates are over the course of the game is one of the best ways in order to systematically and specifically apply your impact and value where it's best used. A great example of this is, imagine you have a team and everyone's doing pretty well, yourself included, besides one player who's doing completely terribly. Maybe they only have 5 kills and 20 deaths. Now, if you're playing Slayer, they are a huge liability, and you might lose the game because of them or them existing. So what you need to either do is, 1, prevent them from feeding over and over again by either helping them out and trying to keep them alive, talking to them, doing whatever you can so that they feed a lot less, or 2, make sure that every time they go in, even if they don't do that much damage, even if they barely get any damage at all, but they find information or they start the engagement, you use their life to have a better engagement yourself. You're still using their death to get value for your team. That could be a great way that you can overcome them feeding over and over again, or being a bad player, or maybe just having a bad game, by still getting value and impact out of their life regardless of how they play it. In addition to that, you can make much more proper engagements when you know how the players on your team fight and what their skill level is. Like, if the best player on your team is in a firefight and he's not running away, he's actively in a firefight, if you go help him, you can expect him to be, fighting a fight that is either winnable or close, the enemy's low, and you could help apply your impact to that to win the fight. But if you're, bottom fragging teammate that has been shown to take really inconsistent fights or not do much damage at all, and they're isolated doing an engagement, don't fly all the way over to try and help them, only to, be face to face with maybe 2 enemies that haven't taken any damage. So it can help you make better decision making as far as which allies to help, which allies to, cut your losses with. Now, the true trick here is you can do the exact same thing with enemies, putting yourself in the shoes or in the mindset of what the enemies are doing in any given game. Understanding what they do. How do they play? Do they fight for the power weapons? Do they rotate aggressively? Are they isolated trying to cut y'all off with an off angle? How do they play? Typically, if an enemy does something once and you'll lose to it, they're going to keep repeating the same play pattern over and over again. This is something that happens often where people are habitual. They fall into the same habits in every single game. If a player wants to just beeline, let's say you played oddball and right off the bat, they beeline straight for freaking rocket launcher like a psychopath, slid around the corner, whipped it out, and got a kill with it. That is something they're going to play for immediately again. They're not going to change up their playstyle if it worked the first time. And that's something that you need to think about and respond to. In addition to that, you need to actually evaluate the enemy's skill level. Sometimes you keep going up against this one guy on the enemy team that is winning at least half or more of the firefights every single time. And then you need to be honest with yourself. Is he getting some sort of advantage on paper up against you and it's causing you to lose? Or maybe he's aiming a little bit better or you're feeling a little bit off today. You don't have to ego your way into direct confrontation. You can actually just take an advantage fight with him and win anyways. Let's say you are winning your gunfights 50% of the time, or you're playing just as well mechanically, but he keeps setting up unfair advantages. That is something that you need to take note of and think about how to best counteract that. Maybe you've gone up against this guy 5 times and lost 4 of the engagements. What were the actual conditions to make you win that 5th one? That last fight that you actually won, how did you win it? What were the conditions? Maybe the person was really low. Maybe you shot them with a buddy you routed together. Maybe you had a really powerful weapon that you actually secured and it helped you win the matchup. Whatever the case may be, understand who are the threats on the battlefield. And it's actually very important to have a certain level of respect for the enemy player's skill, especially those who deserve respect. Because if you try to fly in there very cocky, confident, maybe you have some damage on you, you have bad weapons, you're not full loaded, whatever the case may be, and you run in there half cocked, momentum is not going to beat you through someone who has the skill to shut you down if they have an advantage with you on paper. And it's very important to not only analyze the habits of the players that you're going up against and come up with a counter strategy in order to shut them down so that they won't keep pulling off these plays against you, whether it's like a hiding in a corner play or a flank play, an off angle, a beeline to a power weapon, whatever the case may be. You have a plan for those things that are happening. And then also from a individual skill level, how is the enemy player specifically strong and how can you set up a proper win condition so you could still overcome even a skilled player's strengths? These are all the things that you not only can apply in your games to get better, but if you think about these things after the fact, it will help you understand how you can improve from here, how you can improve your gameplay overall, and what you need to do to get better for the next game and the next game. That being said, sometimes this can be incredibly difficult to do by yourself, but the GameLeap website has all the tools in order to help you dramatically improve, where you can break down many different games from the perspective of top level players, where they show you exactly the decision making and the things that they are incorporating into their gameplay to improve from game to game. So do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below.